What?
Sit down.
So you can avoid it. Right, if you go to any of these selections up here, and let's say we pick on that one, and then we click on EDA, and EDA again, it'll crash. It's, I think I know what's causing it. So the thing not to do is to click on those labels twice at a time. It'll crash the system. Okay? Sorry? It's just happened to you. Yeah. Well, this is, I've not seen this one, so.
Sorry, no, you. Just videoing it.
Now, I think, judging by what I've seen, people are not really going to understand how to get this system going. Okay? I'm going to run through it again.
Thank you very much.
Now, the point here is as I go through, it's up to you to take notes on what I do. Okay? Right.
Yeah, I'll take a video. Okay. Right. I'm gonna have a seat here.
Now, I've started the system off, and as I have explained to you before, on any ship, if you're coming from dead ship, your first operation is to start up the emergency alternator. What I'm going to do is go up to the EDA. Now to get this running, I'm going to have to reset the breaker and put it into automatic. And it should start itself up, and it should put itself on the board. Give it time. She's running up now, and we should find that the breaker here will close. Now there's a lot of people, when they're talking about breakers, not using the right words. You close a breaker to put the power on, and you open a breaker to take the power off. Okay? What just happened here is that breaker has closed, which now puts the power up to the switchboard. The next move is to go down to the switchboard panel on the blue triangle and go to panel 8. You need to close breaker 75, and this puts all your lights on. Whilst you're there, you also close breaker 78, which is for the main saltwater cooling pump. Now if you don't do that, when you try to start the pump, it won't start because there is no electrical power to it. Okay? We come back to our alternator, emergency alternator, and here, just do a check, it's carrying a load. The next thing we need to do is check through all of the alternator systems, the diesel systems, so you become familiar with them. Going through, now some of these, the lube oil and the cooling water, won't come on until you start the alternator because they are engine-driven pumps. We go on, we will eventually come to the salt water system. And here is where you have to start the salt water pump. If you don't do that, you've got no cooling water on the engine. And as soon as you start it, it'll shut down. It's like driving your car without water in the radiator. Okay?
Will that pump start without the engine starting? That's directly driven by the breaker and the switchboard panels, right? So you don't need the engine going to start that pump.
No, it comes off the emergency alternator.
Okay, and when you start the engine, it starts what? What is driven by the engine? You just said it.
The lube oil pumps, the cooling water pumps on the engine. Yeah?
Hang on, the cooling water pumps in the engine. I thought you said they can go
No. You have got jacket water going around the engine, which in turn is being cooled by the salt water. Yeah? Now, basically, once that is running and you've checked your alternator systems, you can now go to the synchronizing panel. The important things that you have to do here, various checks. First of all, switch on your oscilloscope. The next important thing is put the AVRs into automatic. Otherwise you will manually have to control the voltage, and that is difficult. Make sure the check synchronizer is on. Very important safety device. We're now ready to start the alternator, and we can start it here, and if we press the start, that main alternator should run up. It'll go through its checking routine. Here it goes. Now again, you wait till it runs up and settles down. When it comes to doing presentation, all of this will be done for you. You've got to learn how to do this so you can actually practice the synchronizing. Okay? Now again, the key things are various checks that you make. Two important ones now. One is, do I have the voltage? Two, what's the frequency? The frequency is low. So I'm going to have to bring that up to about 60 and a half. Again, when you make an alteration, let it settle down. Once we've got that up to about 60 and a half, we can reset the breaker, and I can close the main breaker by clicking on it. This will now put the main alternator on the buzz bars. Okay? Are you all still with me? Right. Now, before we go any further, one of the checks that we do is we go back to the emergency alternator, and we should find that the ACB tiebreaker has closed and the alternator, the EDA, has come off of the board. What we must now do is stop that alternator. We don't leave it running. You are wasting fuel. Okay? Again, this is one of the checks that you make. When it's run down to 0, you switch it back into automatic.
So can you come back to that?
Sorry?
Putting it on mono.
Well, you stop it.
Okay.
Yeah. When it's run down, then you switch it into automatic. And now, if we have a failure, that should start up and give us back the emergency systems. Okay?
Well, why do you have to stop it?
Because it's doing nothing. It's just running. And if you want to pay the fuel bill, leave it running. And if you want to do all the maintenance, leave it running. Yeah? Okay? It's like, again, if you use a car to drive home, it's like leaving the car in the drive with the engine running overnight. Would you do that?
No, no.
Right. Now, if we come back to the synchronizing panel, we've now got the main alternator running on the board. Now, at this point, I'm going to stop there because you guys need to get to this point first. When you're all there, then I'll show you the next bit. Okay? Okay?
Yep.
Right.